so much for the warm welcome and such a great introduction. Uh, I become a little purple. That's okay. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining from. As Adam introduced me, I'm Lela Macheze, and I'm in project management for probably over 20 years. And I worked in public and private sectors. And currently, I'm in Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada, and happy to be sharing my thoughts. Um, One short disclaimer: as any responsible AI user, I'm saying that presentation slides were prepared with help of AI, but content is validated and it based on my thoughts, my practice, and everything that I'm strong believer and strong advocate. So here we go. What what I've seen concerns me because usually I see that the not because AI is a problem, but because of how we are sequencing use of AI, even in sustainable projects or sustainable organizations. So today's session is that how we are sequencing use of AI in our organizations to help us to be more sustainable organization and help us the world become more sustainable. So title says why the Evergreen organization starts with human knowledge and not AI. I wanted to make the case for that sequence, show you what happens when you get it wrong, and leave you with something practical to take back to your work this week, next week. So let's get started. Next slide. 1 second. Oh, okay. So why don't we start? So the logistics of today's presentation will be, feel free to put your questions in the chat Q&A, and Adam will collect them and ask them. But first of all, I have a question to you as participant for this webinar. So the question is very simple, and probably you have asked yourself before: has your organization deployed AI tools in project environment for the last 12 months? Put your answer in the chat and we will be seeing, Eden will be update me at the end of the conversation. So I'm really interested in your responses, but I will be doing some little predictions here. Most of, and probably 80% of the organizations, to be on the safe side and using the Pareto, yeah, 80% of organizations are already using AI in some context. If you are not sure, that's also an answer. If your organization is using the tools or not. But feel free to post your questions. Are you 100% sure that your organization implemented all the AI tools that are available, or not really? So I'll give you a couple seconds to dive in and answer that question.
Just wondering, are you sharing your slides already, Leila?
Yes, you don't see my slides?
Sorry, I can see the slides.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can see the slides.
Super. Otherwise, I thought all my risk managements went just went out. So, okay. Okay. Any? Yes, piloting. And I see, I'm not sure. Very good answer, Vishal. Thank you. Yes, fully. Yeah. So here we go. My prediction does not disappoint me, right? So we are there already. Okay. Here is the claim I want to make, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. Most organizations are deploying AI on top of broken knowledge management in general and about sustainability. Not because they are careless, but not because they don't understand AI, but because they are under pressure to show results. And AI looks like a fastest path. The results in three patterns that I've seen repeat across the industries or geographies, because I've worked in 4 geographies, right? So far. So the tools, they automate the wrong things sometimes. And AI amplifies existing gaps, and lessons never get captured because they weren't being captured before arrived either. So, irony is that AI didn't create these problems. It just makes them visible faster. So they were always there, but they were not as visible as with AI, right? And AI makes them visible and more expensive. Do you agree or not? Put your thoughts in the chat. Okay, so what I'm proposing instead, I am using the term evergreen organization. And I want to be deliberate about the word choice, especially as at this sustainable summit. Uh, an evergreen trees does not just survive winter. And in Canada, we know that for sure. And I felt it for the last couple of years. So it retains what it needs to stay functional through all seasons, and it regenerates. That's the standard I am setting for organizations to be sustainable in terms of sustainability. An evergreen organization regenerates its knowledge, its capabilities, and resilience season after
Going home for the holidays with lots of clothes.
Oh, thank you. Season after season, regardless of what of market disruptions, not just resilience, but just regenerative. There are 3 traits that define it. First, knowledge that compounds. Each project makes the next one smarter, and we all know that, and we know that we do the lessons learned, where we do the retrospectives and so on. But most of it is are kept with people. Well, good project managers should document it, everything. Yes, you are right, but we are humans. Okay. The second, people over processes, very well known for us, for project managers, the value for the agile performance, right? Human judgment remains the core asset. The third one is sustainable delivery. Performance holds, even teams change. And I know sometimes people say there are no irreplaceable people, right? But there are irreplaceable experience and knowledge those people gathered while they were working on those projects that were not really captured, right? Notice that AI doesn't appear in any of those 3 threads. You see that? Did you notice that? There is no AI in there in those 3. So that's intentional what I did. AI is just enabler, and we hear that. And you as an experienced project manager probably feel that AI is just enable. So what we as a project managers can do in that terms. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not here to argue against AI. I use it a lot. I gave you my self-disclaimer, and many of us, all of you, and I see your responses in the chat, use it. The capabilities are real. AI promises speed, efficiency, scale, automates the reports, but risk detections come from the historical data. Predictive scheduling comes from the data. that we put. And this is very, very well-known fact that wherever we put in, that we will receive as a result, right? So these are not empty promises. These are the real values, and they are really being delivered in some organizations. But here are the questions I want you to hold and think about it now. What if the data AI is learning from is incomplete, undocumented, wrong, or biased? So many what ifs. Yeah. Because here's the reality. Actually, I have researched, I'm following most of the AI researches that are currently happening. I did also myself some of the research back in 2023 about LLMs. Gartner predicts that 60% of AI projects will be abandoned through 2026, not because technology or AI failed, but because the data foundation wasn't ready. Sustainability data was not ready. That's not the technology failure. That's a knowledge infrastructure failure, right? AI is only good when it learns from and good source about sustainability, about the project management, and about anything, any experiences we go through. And in most organizations, what it's learning from is a fraction of what we actually doing in our projects in terms of sustainability. Yeah, we developed sustainability plan, but what it says that how long and what it took to get it through approved in the corporate life to convince stakeholders, convince the sponsor, convince anybody, and how politically it stands and how it's hard to get it done. You just put the results there, right? There is no trend, what efforts you made to make to for it to happen, right? So just to move on to the next slide. Do we have any questions?
None so far. I have, please do all to put your questions in the Q&A tab, please, and then I'll track them for you. So,
Okay.
everyone.
To understand why it matters, I need to draw a distinction that most organizations don't make clearly enough. There are three levels: data, like schedule logs, budget reports, issue registers, you name it, right? And we all know when you do that. AI reads these easily. It's structured, it's digital, it's compatible formats, it's accessible, anything. Then this next level is information. The patterns, trends, dashboards, KPI summaries. So AI synthesizes all those well too. You cannot, human being, without machines, AI cannot compete with them. This is where a lot of AI tools are genuinely very useful, and we have so many aha moments, right? Even I am so, oh my God, so many information together just reviewed. But then comes the knowledge of and experience. You can name it as an experience. Why the decision was made the way? Because the decisions are influenced not only with those data and information, right? In your organization, think about the decisions that were made recently and see if those decisions were based only on the data and only on the information that was provided. There was something else. Did anybody record it? Did anybody even say it sometimes loudly? So do we sometimes, as project managers, we have a feeling that we really need to understand what the client really needs, but never really said it loud. AI cannot generate that. Only humans can, right? Can you think of any of those decisions? And here is the problem. The third level, this organizational knowledge, lives in people's heads. Do you know how many times I've heard from the experienced, mature project manager, I can become a millionaire if I tell you how many times I've heard, it's in my head. I know how to talk with that person. I know how to negotiate that. I know how to make this happen. So anytime when you want to have approval for the sustainability plan or implement the action for sustainability, who knows how to make it happen, right? Yes, there are policies but it takes so much time. So, and what happens when those people either retire or either move to another job? When when they exit your team, when they move to another project, right? When they get promoted, I don't know, the knowledge, and you cannot call it experience, knowledge, instinct, whatever, it walks out from your room and from your team. Has anybody experienced that? You say it. Yeah. Well, I know I'm data person. And actually, I need some proof. So, according to the PMI on talent gap research, 13 million project managers are expected to retire by 2030. At the same time, the global economy needs 25 million new project professionals, and we probably all read this in a Pulse of Profession, right? To fill the demand. That's not a pipeline challenge, I guess. That's a structural crisis, right? And here is what makes it even worse. 85% of organizational knowledge is tactic, meaning it's experience-based, undocumented, or living in people's heads, not in your systems, not in your register. It's in people. And when people leave, it lives with them. Deloitte Human Capital Trends found that 47% of organizations already flag key person dependency as a significant operational risk. So one person holds so many unwritten knowledge and history that it is not documented. Well, will it be recovered? Yes, in some times, but meanwhile it will be broken, even for sustainability purposes. Yeah, and those numbers are rising steadily, as I understand, right? And here is what I actually observed in my work. If senior engineer retires and their critical judgment retires with them, junior staff just go straight to the AI tool, not because they are careless, but because no one has given them the foundational context to work from. So AI generated plans look so polished, so complete, but they miss the risks the only experience would catch. Only experience would catch. And lessons learned meetings happen, as I told you, and documents get filled, and probably no one opens them again, right? Well, not all the organizations, I would say, but some. Yeah. The knowledge drains quietly. It doesn't show up in the dashboards, but it is accumulated. So when you layer AI on top of it, the consequences arrive quite faster, right? Okay. So here is my experience, my personal experience. I used to work with the public sector company that it was a few years ago. It was in Eastern Europe, and I was managing two big programs. One was 19 million euro program. It was for the providing transportation and buses to 6 major cities. 175 buses, and putting in place all the maintenance shop, training subsequent people, and all that stuff. Besides, I was also managing another 5 million program for heavy equipment for the high mountain regions. Well, in the meanwhile, the organization was going through the change, and they wanted to implement and upgrade management information system with AI tools where all the information was gathered. Yeah, so everything was put in the place. The all the schedules all the schedules were put in one tool, right? And we deployed, but historical information, the data that we uploaded, I noticed that it was not ready to have all the information. So it was discussed, it was few year negotiations, back and forth, back and forth. The timing was not kind of reflecting all that negotiations, how long it took to talk to convince the mayors, to find the staff with the resources, to train them, what were the negotiations and logistics, even with all the deliveries and installations. So it was there we had all the nice tools, but we were lacking we were lacking the main part of it, important part. The AI tools worked exactly as designed, but it processed the data, it was given and produced an optimal output. We missed the historical knowledge sharing, right? Well, it gives you output that is technically flawless, right? It just gives you perfect world of estimations. Does it consider the cultural elements? Does it consider the sometimes individual elements? So we failed. The outputs we were getting were not giving us the schedules that we were looking for. And every time we were reviewing the AI produced documents, they were insufficient and with lots of errors. So what we figured out as the lessons learned after implementing the update of this MIS tool, we figured out that the biggest lessons learned was that the knowledge that was with the people, I was project manager, had few project managers, they all trying, everything was standardized, but still it missed the context. So no tool can fix that. No tool, there is no form that captures that. Well, you would say, well, then we have a stakeholder management plan, but it's just a plan. When you execute in reality, nothing goes wrong, nothing goes 100% as it is written in this plan, right? You tell me if I'm wrong, because this is all the practical things that I have experienced. So this is the core insight I want to leave with you from this first half session. AI amplifies what already exists. That's not a bug, that's the design. It's what makes it powerful, but cuts both ways. If you have strong knowledge foundation, decisions document, context captured, institutional memory accessible, AI accelerates the quality decisions, accelerates. Automation frees your senior people for judgment-heavy work, but patterns get recognized faster, right? And knowledge components with every project cycle getting better and better. But whatever you teach AI, you get that output. If you have fragmented knowledge foundation, and then most organizations do, AI accelerates poor decisions at scale. That's the key. Automation removes the human check on bad data. Patterns draw from incomplete history, and gaps compound with every project cycle. That's systematic risk for sustainability of organization and for the sustainability of the efforts we are doing. Yeah, I would like you to take a moment and to look at both columns and honestly ask yourself, which column describes your organization right now? That's the question we're trying to answer before we decide where AI fits at all, right? Okay, so what makes knowledge organizational? So what exactly are we talking about when we say organizational knowledge? Let me be specific, because knowledge management can sound very abstract, right? Well, the hard-won judgment, what it is. The call made under pressure that saved the project and why it worked. The second, stakeholder insights. What the client actually cares about versus what they say in the meetings, which are often very different. Near-miss histories. What almost went wrong. Those of you who ever been in construction, it is so precise and so focused on recording any near miss. And this is what we should be doing for our projects as well. So this is some of the most valuable knowledge in the organization can hold. And it's almost never documented because people don't want to revisit what almost failed. So it didn't fail, why we should be talking and spending time on that? No, almost failing is the near miss, right? Context behind the decision, right? Why was the scope defined that way? Why? Why was that vendor chosen? Well, we had that assumption evaluation, but besides those criteria, there are also some whys. Why was that risk accepted? Right? Why? Process adaptation. The informal adjustments that made the standard process actually work on the ground, right? And finally, a mentored expertise. What experienced practitioners pass on to junior colleagues through the conversation. I don't know, I had my experience working with the scientists in the biology, microbiology, in my past experience. Even with these knowledgeable, intelligent, mature scientists, the information sharing was the hardest part with the newcomers, with the interns. It was the hardest part. And it was almost impossible because it was their treasure. They wouldn't want to share it. Share the part, but not the entirely. But we have the policy they have to share. Well, they share, but not everything. They share, but not completely. So just to move on, how much of this exists in the forms that someone new in your organization or team can access it? For most organizations, the honest answer is that very little, yeah? And no AI deployment can change it. And we are blaming AI, why it makes so wrong decisions, so overestimates or underestimates, or just makes incomplete sequencing. That's the reason, right? So just to give you, so we all understand, yeah, there are gaps, we agree. So what's then? What we should do as the project managers? So how and what does the alternative looks like? I want to give you a framework, 4 steps in sequence: capture, structure, transfer, refresh. Capture is about changing how you collect knowledge about the sustainability management or any other tasks during or after project. After action reviews that asks why, not just what happened, but why. Exit interviews that extract knowledge before someone leaves and micro-document it embedded in your workflow, not a separate task, but woven into the work itself. Structure, the second one. The structure is about making knowledge findable. Tag it by project type, risk category, stakeholder type, put it in the formats that are searchable and retrievable. Sometimes those amazing documents exist, but we have the project document management procedures, which is not always followed, right? And we know we should be practical, right? And the next thing is transfer, how the knowledge moves from people to people. Mentoring, the existing knowledge transfer goals, not just doing the work together, but narrative, the judgment behind it. The shadowing programs before senior exits, communities of practice where structured storytelling are part of the culture. I find all those 4 steps are quite nicely followed, mostly in startups, but they are lacking implementation and following the sequence in the corporate big organizations. And refresh. Knowledge bases get stale. Review them quarterly or annually. This is where AI earns its place. And it is very at search, retrieval, and surfacing gaps in what's being captured, right? But it operates on what you already built. Okay? So sequencing matter. Capture, structure before AI comes, not alongside, not along in parallel, but just before that. Okay? So far, so good. How are we doing, Adam, with the timing? I think we're on time. How many minutes do we have left? Yeah.
I think we have we have about some 15 minutes. So
Oh, good. So I still have some time to share my insights. Okay. So I want to address something that I suspect on the mind of many of people on this call. And if AI is coming for project management tasks and it's taking the real tasks, what does that mean for experienced practitioners? Are they becoming redundant? You probably heard it a lot, but so far what I have explained, the answer is no. We should be using all that knowledge. I think the role is shifting and understanding that shift matters. What experienced PM carries cannot be replaced by LLM. Pattern recognition across failure modes, the ability to look at a project and recognize something you have seen go wrong before. Yeah. Stakeholder instincts built over years. No, right? Judgment under ambiguity and the pressure. Not really. I don't think AI can do that. The ability to ask the right questions in the room full of wrong answers. Can AI ask that? Not really. And something that is underrated, I think, is knowing what to ignore as much as what to act on, right? It's a human critical thinking. In AI augmented environment, the most experienced practitioners become knowledge architects. This is what I understand. In sustainable organizations, thinking about sustainability, they are knowledge architects. So they know how it may work, how to make it work. They become quality gatekeepers, the human in the loop who validate AI outputs, right? They become mentors to pass the judgment, not just the information, and they become the narrative holders, the people who preserve the why, the question why behind every major decisions. Decision logs are there, but there is no why. This is not a diminishing role, I think. It is, if anything, more important one. Why? Explanation of why that is happening. So what good looks like? I've shown you what happens when AI runs ahead. Let me show you what it looks like when the sequence is right. This is a composite from my experience, what I've done in the past again, and details that changed, but details have changed, right? But the patterns are documented. A project, what good things reflect is that project management or program management team decides before any deployment to do the knowledge audit. They spend at least 3 to 5 months across teams and structure interviews with the senior practitioners. Well, will they be all successful? No, this is not the expectation. And they usually go along with the change management. Yeah. So change manager or in my past experience, the project manager goes, and maybe they don't really call it interview. It's just a question why that decision was made. They start compiling the decision diaries. So I look at the project and program as a reflection of the human being and life cycle. So project and program needs a decision diary. And I know some of you may ask, well, we have a decision log, but is it this same, this diary? No, not really. It captures why that decision was made at that point specifically, why the timing was right, and lots of why questions are answered. Yeah. In the second phase, what we would do, it usually take 2 to 4 months. They structure what they have captured. So give it the nice layout, structure, combine, and the knowledge base is organized by few types and phases. So what I remember, we documented at least 200 decisions with their context, why decision was made, what was considered, and why was rejected, and what was rejected. So all those were contextualized. Only then, in the phase 3, they do deploy the AI. They give all that information and interviews done to the AI. And when somebody is onboarded, even HR would use that information. Even HR would show how it works. And the next part that I will be talking, that it never comes without the culture, organizational culture, depending on the organizational culture, right? So in every organization, we have a different culture. So, and that brings me to the next slide. That is, I think, one of the most important slide of my presentation. The order matters more than the tools, I think. The typical sequence that I see in most organizations is that they deploy AI tools, trust the output, not always, maybe have some 1 or 2 QC checks, and wonder why results are inconsistent, and eventually blame the technology. Yeah, it's not there yet. It's just improving. It's getting there. The AI gets blamed. The evergreen sequence is different. First, audit what knowledge exists in your organization, what's documented and what isn't, where the gaps are. Second, capture what is missing systematically before anyone else leaves. Have you heard and seen the people leave in 2-week notice and they take most of their historical knowledge with them? but it's all documented. It have to be documented. Then it's so irresponsible. It's almost impossible to document every why. Almost. If you think otherwise, just let me know in the chat. Third, structure it for access. So it's findable when it's needed. That's important. If information exists, it should be accessible. And the fourth, deploy AI as the accelerator on top of that foundation. Give it that information. AI doesn't change when it's deployed. It's just sequencing. We don't change AI. We just sequence it differently. Yeah. Before giving them the data, we make sure we capture all the context and all the whys before, and then give it the information. Yeah. I want to be
time-wise, we are under 5 minutes, so just
okay. So I think I have left just a couple more slides, and then we're done. Yep. So I think Evergreen approach should start earlier than it's just tool. What I recommend, this is the knowledge capture, the practical tool you can do even from Monday, and don't start doing them all. I'm strong advocate for the atomic habits, and I think most of you read that. And don't try to do them all. Start with the short steps. Either start with the decision diary or with the structured retrospective approach, or with the knowledge interview and capture them for yourself, or try to put in place some assumption map. And this is what I want just a little bit to talk a little bit more, At the start of every project, write down every assumption your team, and we have the assumption log. Usually, sometimes we include in the charter or we include in the project plan, whatever. But this is something different. This is assumption your team is making about the client, the context, the risks. At the close, review which assumptions went wrong. The gaps between your assumption and reality becomes the most valuable knowledge asset. None of these require a new system. They require new habit. Start next week, right? And the culture. We talked about the culture, right? People have to have the psychological safety to talk about those, right? They simply won't talk. It simply requires people to understand the ecosystem where they speak is safe for them. Yeah, and we need to plan the time and invest time for that. The last but not least is that measure, track knowledge health metrics, right? Track it. If you don't measure, we will not be able to take seriously how many decisions are documented per project. What's the onboarding time for a new team member? What's your repeat mistakes or mistake rates across the project? These are the knowledge health metrics, and they belong to a system that you are trying to build. But culture, we know, doesn't change with the policy. We all know culture doesn't change with the policy. It changes when leaders make it visible, vocal, and following them. Just by asking for knowledge evidence and by just asking to protect the time for this doesn't make it happen. So we need leaders buy in for that it requires time. It will require time and mindset change. So what the agenda looks like is that we have to retrieve some information, and then we have to pattern the surface and draft the generation. And then we identify the gaps. And it goes as a cycle. This goes as a cycle. AI, everyone on those four capabilities depends on the foundation, the correct data in first place. So AI doesn't create the foundation, it makes the foundation more useful, right? Okay, I have one more slide that I want
Our
to
time
share.
is up though. We have one
Yeah,
question as well.
yeah,
Kenneth.
time is up. If
We have
I
one
will be
question.
sharing, yeah, that if anybody has any questions or
Yes, there's one from Kenneth. How do we make sure in this day and age of AI that young professionals learn and inherit the practical knowledge and expertise from seniors so they will have sound judgment to build the future?
yeah, I mentioned it in my presentation. The step that should be done is just having interviews, having a task of having decision diaries where the young professionals go and talk and shadow the experienced professionals. I do understand there will be such a big resistance. Sometimes they don't want to, or even young generation does not understand if there is a policy, why should I be talking differently and considering the culture, considering the structure of the stakeholders. So it takes time. How we take, give them tasks to do, for example, the diaries, decision diaries. Ask them to take the decision log, talk with experienced project managers, and ask why those decisions were made. And there will be the discussion. Actually, one of the excellent tools, but it's also about the safety and the culture. I'm sure most of you are using the Copilot to track the meeting minutes, right? But as soon as the person sees that it's on, the intel is a little bit shifted. Have you noticed that? So it still relies on human to human interaction to find out why. So young generation needs to be tasked to complete those steps like diaries, to do the matrices and talk with the experts, senior project managers to find out why, what was the rationale behind those decisions or those assumptions that we made early in the stage of the project. Any other questions?
Not really, just comments. There were just general comments from. So thank you, Kenneth, for that question. There was one about the fact that steady tradition in education is also collapsing because I guess because of AI, and you provided
Yeah.
a very nice QA process for
Mm-hmm.
AI deployment. So thank you very much, Leila,
Oh,
for your
thank you.
excellent topic.
If you have any questions or want to follow up or just share, I think we should be talking and sharing ideas. Please feel free to connect me through the LinkedIn. I'll be happy to share and just advocate whatever I believe in.
Super. That was great. And
Thank
I
you.
also have one maybe remark that AI will not replace any human, but I think a human using AI will replace other humans.
Yeah,
I live that way.
we need to make sure that whatever we give AI, it's fundamentally correct and it captures all the variables and knowledge that we have, and sometimes not even recognize that we have that knowledge.
Super. Thank you very much, Leila, once again. Thank you very much, everyone who
Thank
joined
you.
us this afternoon. And yes, I'll end the session now. Thank you for your.
Thank you all.
Yes, bye.